everybody, and welcome to the Wrestling Academy podcast, a podcast all about wrestling history with a non-linear timeline or trackable syllabus. If you're a lifelong fan or a brand new one, this is the podcast for you. I am your headmaster. My name is Michael Classic.
And my name is Samee Junio, your Homecoming King here at Wrestling Academy. If you're watching this on YouTube, or even if you're listening to us on a podcast platform, go over to YouTube and subscribe. Because once we hit 1,000 subscribers, I promise that I will put Michael through a table.
That's right. We're a brand new, little bit of baby podcast, and we want to set a goal for ourselves that we can get 1,000 subscribers on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
The reward will be Samee Junio puts me through a table for real. This is really going to happen.
For real.
We're really going to do this.
What are you doing to train? Because I have adopted a training regimen of thinking about doing 1 to 2 push-ups a day.
Here's what I'm doing to prepare is not thinking about it.
Oh,
just really being like, I'm going to hit the ground and it's going to hurt.
You're going to hit the table and then the ground.
If I think about it more than that, then that's how your body gets hurt. Like, here's the thing, Samee, your body knows what to do. You just have to let it. You just have to get out of the way. So I don't want to put any mental roadblocks because, like, I almost said tear your spine. There's no way that's real. Anyways, Samee, we had a rare treat the past couple weeks. We got to be a guest on another show. If you want to see us out of uniform, we were on the Have a Drink with Me podcast.
Yes,
where we did a power hour. Samee, how'd you feel about doing a power hour?
Well, first of all, Have a Drink with Me is a video podcast hosted by my friend and your friend now, Dylan Polniak. He invited us on the show, and you two separately had the idea of doing a power hour. If you're not familiar, basically you take a shot of a beer, or in our case, White Claw, or in Michael's case, sugar-free Mountain Dew Baja Blast, every 90 seconds. And, you know, me and Michael, we're chaotic. Dylan tried to hold us together. It was really fun and silly. And go to watch.hadwm.com to check that out. Plus all of the other live streams that Dylan does at Have a Drink with Me every Thursday.
Because we like to keep it positive here on the podcast. But if you want to hear me call Bret the Hitman Hart a little and you want to hear what I said, if you want to hear what I said uncensored, you got to check out Have a Drink with Me podcast.
You do. You really do. It's a real hoot and holler.
And I also just want to, in my own defense, right? Sober guy, sober individual. And I thought it was going to be fine to just pound 8 Mountain Dews in an hour. Not the case, my friend. I am not a young man. I had no idea how much caffeine was in a Mountain Dew. And then I pounded 8 of them and then cut to me at 7 in the morning, waking up, and my heart was just beating out of my chest. And I was like sweating and I couldn't. It was one of those things where your heart's beating and you're like, I can't calm down. This is purely Mountain Dew related.
I feel like maybe that much Mountain Dew was probably more harmful than the 8 White Claws that me and Dylan drank. Maybe?
I don't know, dude. You went ham.
Well,
I will say we both destroyed ourselves in different ways. That's what I witnessed on the Have a Drink with Me podcast.
Sure.
But hey, all that stuff's the aftermath. If you just want to see the fun part where it's us having fun and me calling Bret the Hitman Hart, and you want to hear what I'm saying uncensored, definitely go check out the Have a Drink with Me podcast. Samee, before we jump into the episode, I just want to bring our audience up to speed. We have been trying to solve a little bit of a mystery.
Oh, yes.
During our Royal Rumble episode we covered the Royal Rumble. The event we covered was the 2008 Royal Rumble. And in the background of 90% of the shots, we saw this kid who was just making goofy faces in the background of every single shot. Sammy's doing a lot of the faces right now. And the only thing we know about this person for sure is that they were wearing a yellow t-shirt for the band Ween. And me and Samee think this person's so funny, we want to try to find them. So we have started a nationwide, a worldwide hunt looking for the person we call Ween Kid. We're looking for hashtag who is Ween Kid. And we just want to say, if you have any information on who Ween Kid is, or like, are you Ween Kid? Do you know Ween Kid? Were you at Royal Rumble 2008? Do you know? Are you a bounty hunter who can find
A
people based
bounty
off
hunter,
pictures?
Michael?
Yeah, if you're Dog the Bounty Hunter, get in touch because I have questions.
He is a big fan of Wrestling
Yeah,
Academy.
I have questions that I need answered. So if you know Ween Kid or you know Dog the Bounty Hunter, we're really trying to kick this investigation in a high gear. So you can tag us on any of our socials, use the hashtag who is Ween Kid, or if you want to leave an anonymous tip, go to our website or call the following number 708-669-4512, which we call the official Ween Kid tip line. So if you have any tips, clues, or again, I'm ready to get serious. So if you know Dog the Bounty Hunter or equivalent, a bounty hunter up to Dog the Bounty Hunter levels, let it get in touch because I got some schemes, but I need an official. I need a certified bounty hunter to get the answers that I need.
What would be the level above dog in the bounty hunter?
I think Tommy Lee Jones from The Fugitive.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah,
I thought I was trying to see if you're gonna see an animal, and you said Tommy Lee Jones. Okay, perfect.
yeah. If you want to go one step above the dog, you got to get Tommy Lee Jones.
The TLJ.
I don't think the investigation is quite at Tommy Lee Jones
Mm-mm.
severity yet, but Dog the Bounty Hunter, yeah, I think so. But Sammy, all of that
Yes.
stuff, that's all in the future. What are we talking
Yes.
about today?
Today we're talking about Asuka and her 914-day winning streak at WWE/NXT.
That's right. From her debut, she went truly undefeated for 914 days. And
Mhm.
I don't know, I think we're both just big Asuka fans. And so I'm really excited to get to talk about like just one of my favorite wrestlers. So I'm very excited to hop in.
Do you remember your first interactions with Asuka?
I think honestly, because I was watching in real time. So when she debuted in NXT, I was along for the ride, and I think that's where she became one of my favorite wrestlers, was just watching this unbelievably dominant initial winning streak when she first debuted, and yeah, just I think being along for the ride, it was pretty hard to not start rooting for Asuka, and I did, and I've never looked back.
I love that. So she had a long career in the indie scene. Did you know anything about that, or was it really her debut on NXT was your debut to Asuka?
It wasn't until afterward, like, I became a fan of hers that I started looking into her career before wrestling for the WWE. So I didn't know anything about her until she debuted. And then I have
Sick.
since gone back to like check it out and see what she was all about back then. And she was great.
I love that. How would you describe her in-ring style?
I think the only way I can describe it is she reminds me of like a barbarian or Hercules or something, where she just
Okay.
has this big larger than life confidence to her, but it feels very playful to me. Because I think a
Mhm.
lot of times you'll see a dominant person who is either just like all business, all very serious, or is very sadistically playing with people. Whereas the energy I always get when I see Asuka wrestling is very much, hey, we're all just joking around, right? Like we're all having we're having fun. And
Huh.
so yeah, you seem like you're disagreeing. How do you feel?
Yeah, I feel differently because I feel like she moves with such a she moves with glee, but it is a little bit sinister. So she moves in the ring. Sometimes it reminds me of a spider rushing into when a bug gets caught in their web, right? She moves so fast and what she's doing is so deadly, but she's also smiling about it. And I feel like maybe I'm getting caught up in the demigod of it all where it kind of seems like, "Oh, we're just having fun," because I think she's having fun, her like, smashing people, and, if she can't kick the shit out of you, she will try to rip off your extremities happily, you know?
Oh, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying Asuka's not incredibly dominant or strong or the kind of person you want to mess with. It does truly, to me, feels like when people are fighting her, in my mind, when I imagine
Mhm.
Asuka wrestling, she is like 5 feet taller than she actually is. And so it is just like, yeah, I don't know. And I'm not saying she's not sinister or doesn't take things seriously, but I do think there's just a playfulness about how she's dominant that I think is different than how most dominant wrestlers wrestle. There
Sure.
is like a to me, it doesn't feel like sadistic the way somebody, a Nia Jax, for example, who is booked as very dominant, right? She always is very tough and slam and gonna do it. Whereas I think Asuka is like,
Like,
yeah, this is
tee
great. This is fun. I'm
Okay,
loving this. Yeah, it seems like she's enjoying the fighting is what she loves doing and has a lot of fun doing.
cool. So let's talk about Asuka's beginnings. So Asuka is her WWE name, and her real name is Kanako Urai, and she was formerly known as Kana in the indie scene. She was born in Osaka, and her style is she wrestles stiff, which basically means she's hitting people for real and probably a little bit harder than she should be hitting people. Is that accurate to say, Michael?
Yeah. The working stiff is a lot more. They're always varying degrees of everything, but so a lot of times when somebody says they're hitting you with a stiff strike, they mean it's just a lot more full contact than it
Mhm.
normally is. Because the point of wrestling, it's predetermined. You want to take care of your partner, but then there are some wrestlers who are a little bit more about that action, and I think Asuka is definitely one of those people.
And it's like it feels like so far that the wrestlers that start off in Japan kind of just generally wrestle stiff.
Yeah, and I think there's a little bit more of the, we got into in our New Japan episode, we talked about strong style and stuff like
Mhm.
that. And so a lot of the basis of that kind of philosophy comes from the world of mimicking like a fight sport like MMA or something like that.
Got you.
So that's like there are a lot of submissions moves and a lot of hard strikes. It's just sort of in the zeitgeist of when you're becoming a wrestler, I would assume.
Kanako's beginning in wrestling started a little bit later than she wanted because her mom urged her to go to school and get a degree instead of pursuing a wrestling career. So Kanako went and got a degree in graphic design before debuting as Kana at an all-female promotion in Japan called AtoZ in 2004. She had to step away, unfortunately, in 2006 because she had a kidney condition called nephritis, which I'm pretty sure is just the swelling, the chronic swelling of your kidneys, which is definitely not something that you want to be in the ring with. So while she was away kind of dealing with this condition, she's gone for about a year and a half, and while she creates her own graphic design company. So Kanako does get into a lot of other stuff outside of the ring. She created her own graphic design company. She is a massive gamer and collector. She's written for Xbox Magazine. She's the owner of a salon in Japan, and she has a YouTube channel called Kana-chan TV with over 500,000 subscribers and 252 videos. Michael, we've stumbled upon a pop quiz.
Oh shit. Okay.
So for this pop quiz, Michael, you're going to spot the imposter, aka tell me which video title is fake. For some context, Kana-chan TV videos seem to be on the vlogier side of things. And an example of a title is, quote, I had soba noodles in Ginza, then a foot massage. Michael, are you ready
Yeah,
to spot the imposter?
I am.
Title number 1, go to find the best bathtub. Title number 2, decision for the construction of a building for my hobby. Number 3, I fell down backstage at SmackDown. Number 4, I'm going to Japan to look for something I forgot. And number 5, I still can't find what I left behind.
Wow. First of all, Sammy, I just want to say
Yes.
these are all great titles. These
I
all sound
mean,
like they could be vlog titles.
most of them are.
Yeah, most of them are. But I guess I just want to say
Yeah.
you've captured her voice so distinctly that I'm completely at a loss. I don't know. I'm having a real hard time trying to figure out which one is real and which one's fake.
Well, you've got to spot the imposter.
Okay, so I'm gonna just say go to find the best bathtub. That makes
Mhm.
sense.
Does
I'm
it?
gonna say the imposter is decision for the construction of the building of my hobby.
Okay, that is a good choice. Unfortunately, it is the wrong choice.
No.
Uh, The imposter was I fell down backstage at SmackDown.
Okay, here's the thing. That was my second choice because I
Okay.
thought you were maybe doing something tricky where it was like, I fell down backstage at Raw, and then you just changed it
Oh,
to SmackDown
sure.
to be a little bit more.
I mean, that is a fair accusation. I did think about doing that, but for this quiz, I really wanted to give you a full fake title.
Okay, I appreciate that, and I just gotta say, you've
Yeah.
really tapped into the essence of the kind of minor drama a vlogger would tap into. You know what I mean? Like I
Thank
would click
you.
on that video in a heartbeat.
I mean, I just said that I wanted to do it. I have been practicing all afternoon. All right, back.
What would you title the vlog of today?
I think I'm still depressed.
Mine would be spaghetti fell on the floor. Should I eat it?
Ooh, that's a good one. I would click on that.
I'm not gonna reveal what I did.
I mean, you have to click on the 10-minute video, right?
Yeah, I might reveal it just by saying I'm ashamed of what I did. How about that?
I
I
mean,
won't tell you what I
depending.
did, but I'm ashamed of the results. So you tell me what happened.
I can't. I need to watch the video. She returns to wrestling in September of 2007, and she is really, really ready to just be a damn professional wrestler. So between 2007 and 2015, Kana appeared at around 10 different wrestling promotions, mostly in Japan, but eventually the United States. Kanaka also produced her own live event called the Kana Pro. She started it in 2010 and went basically annually for 3 years. So as you can imagine, Kana was dripping with championship titles even before moving to the WWE. And here again, I'm going to rattle some off. The Neo Tag Team Championship with Nanai Takahashi, the JWP Openweight Championship, the Smash Diva Championship, and she held the DDT Ironman Heavy Metalweight Championship 5 times. The DDT Ironman Heavy Metalweight Championship is one of those titles that's basically up for grabs 24/7 as long as a DDT official is present. It started out as a parody of WWF's Hardcore Championship title that is available also 24/7, again, as long as a referee is present. I'm hoping that we'll get into DDT on a future episode because I looked at some of the other champions and I do want to share a couple of them: a ladder, a baseball bat, a bus, chopsticks, the Young Bucks autobiography, Killing the Business, and 3 elementary school girls.
Incredible. I feel like we got to do a DDT episode soon. Just the concept of a title that can be defended 24 hours a day is so fun.
That's
The
wild.
hardcore championship back when I was a kid was one of my favorite things ever, where it was just somebody would be at a hotel or backstage, and then just a random wrestler would run up with a referee and be like, "Ah, ah, ah," and then just start attacking him with weapons and stuff. It's so funny. But I think what happened in the WWE was it was
Mhm.
always people doing it. What I'm hearing DDT is like, "Hey, if you're a ladder, you got a chance at the title," you know? And I think that's so funny and so innovative. I would love to dig into some of these matches and explore further.
I read about another one that was a beer can, so beer can won it, and then to lose it, a wrestler poured out the contents of the beer can, and then that wrestler ended up having the championship themselves. Just a true silly nonsense stuff that we love about wrestling.
Unbelievable. That's so funny. Yeah, we gotta dig a little deeper into DDT soon.
Oh yeah, I really would love that. So clearly, Kana had had an impressive career before even going over to WWE, but let's get into that now. So in 2014, Kana makes an announcement that she will go on an indefinite wrestling hiatus. She wrestles her final match at her own event, Kana Pro Mania Pulse, on September 15th, 2015. And then on September 23rd, she is introduced on NXT by William Regal. He makes this sweetie little speech where he's like very, very excited about her. He says that she's the most exciting signing ever for NXT, which is really fun. So she comes out, the crowd is hot, and all of the screens read Asuka instead of Kana. Asuka comes out in a business suit and heels because she is here for business. And the two wrestlers, Emma and Dana Brooke, come out and basically are like, "Girl, you made a mistake and playtime is over." And it seems like right in that moment, we know who Asuka is going to wrestle for her first match at NXT. Here's a little bit of fun trivia here. Asuka was the first female Japanese wrestler to sign with WWE since Bull Nakano in 1994. And the name Asuka was a nod to a legendary All Japan wrestler named Lioness Asuka, who is one half of the tag team Crush Gals.
And I gotta say, just for the record, Crush Gals, amazing name for a team.
Incredible name.
Incredible team name. And I also did a little bit of digging just into what was Lioness Asuka all about. And so I
Mhm.
watched a few of her matches from 1995. And I could see the in-ring work was very similar. Lioness Asuka seemed like she was a very hard-hitting, submission-based kind of wrestler, but the costume presentation seemed way different than Asuka when she comes so the Asuka we're gonna be talking about when she comes into
Mhm.
WWE, bright colors, all kinds of stuff, whereas it seemed like Lioness Asuka was a lot more uh, like monochrome, kind of
Mm.
wore black, and then when she was in the Crush Gals, she more or less was just in a one piece bathing suit that
Oh,
seemed pretty it seemed pretty no frills, and it was just I could see my mom wearing this kind of thing to the beach, and then the Crush Gals just wrecked people
really?
in these mom one piece bikini. It was great. Yeah, the Crush Gals were
Love it.
fucking awesome, dude.
I love it. So, look out for a future episode of Wrestling Academy where we get into the Crush Gals.
I seriously think this is making me be like, I think we need to get into All Japan Wrestling because I
100%.
had sort of a concept of there wasn't really any great women's wrestling pre like 2015, and
Mhm.
I think when you get outside that's true probably. I think for stuff like the WWE, their representation was not great,
Yeah.
but there were so many other spots and so many other places in these Lioness Asuka matches where, they were happening in the 80s and 90s. And these were stiff, hard hitting matches that made me be
Ugh.
like, okay, I think I need to just fully get outside this WWE bubble and we should
Yeah.
watch some 80s women's wrestling in all Japan and just see what's really up. You know what I mean? I think the WWE just did a really great job at disseminating a lot of propaganda of being like, yeah, women's wrestling sucked until we did something about it. And you're like, actually, that's not true for 500 different reasons. And this is this is
I
just one
yeah.
of them. The Crush Gals are proof.
Yeah,
Wrestling was cool. Wrestling was cool before 20.
I really can't believe that WWE tried to get away with, saying that they invented women's wrestling in 2018.
Yeah, they were like, oh, it was just so bad, and then we made it good again. And you're like,
I was just like, "Mm."
none of this is true. None of this is true.
But what is true is Asuka's 914 days of winning.
That's right. So before we fully jump into Asuka, yeah, she debuts September 23rd,
Mhm.
2015, and then goes on a massive win streak that we're going to be talking about. So I think before we just fully hop in, I just wanted to talk a little bit about the concept of undefeated streaks in wrestling and just kind of get
No.
your opinions on them. So there are a bunch of really notable undefeated streaks in wrestling. So
Mhm.
I think one of the biggest ones that people talk about all the time was The Undertaker had an undefeated streak at WrestleMania. So
Mhm.
whenever Undertaker was having a match at WrestleMania, he would never lose. And that happened from 1991 to 2013. The
That's
Undertaker never lost a WrestleMania match. That doesn't mean he didn't lose other times, but
right.
he went 21-0 at WrestleMania, which is, like, pretty cool, and then that became part of
Yeah.
his mystique where, it was like, "Oh, a bunch of people are gonna challenge. Will they be able to beat the Undertaker streak?" And then I
Sure.
think the first thing that popped in mind when I was thinking about, undefeated streaks and wrestling, I think the biggest one that people talk about is in WCW, Bill Goldberg had a
Boo.
461 day winning streak.
Mhm.
He debuted September 22nd. 1997, and he didn't lose a match until December 27th, 1998. And the reason Sammy booed is because the week we're recording this episode,
Mhm.
Goldberg just kind of thought it would be really cool to take a random swipe at Asuka for being like, "Oh, can you believe a girl beat my undefeated streak?" And it was like, dude, first of all this shit happened like 7 years ago. So I don't know
Yeah.
why you're digging this up now. And then two, you were in a completely different company. So,
Mhm.
like, what does your undefeated streak in WCW have anything to do with Asuka's undefeated streak in the WWE? And a bunch of people have beaten Goldberg's undefeated streak. So I don't know why he singled out Asuka. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, you're not mad at Roman Reigns. You're not mad at Jade Cargill. You're not. Oh, really? Like, just
It
Asuka we have a problem with.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's so funny 'cause I didn't watch it's a video, right? And so I
Yeah,
didn't
he's on
watch.
a podcast, and it
Oh,
truly
yeah.
is just kind of the most boomer shit you could like, even down to his attitude. Because he's like an older guy now, and so just him being
Sure.
like, "Can you believe a girl to beat my streak?" And you're like, "Yeah,
Yeah, it's
yeah,
so
I can." Because here's truly pulling the curtain back.
mm,
Goldberg, not a great wrestler. You know who is a great wrestler? The fucking Asuka,
Asuka.
dude. Yeah,
Yeah.
Asuka's a great wrestler and has done intergender wrestling, has wrestled
Yeah.
everybody, and so I was kinda like, I don't know, dude. I think most people are kinda on Asuka's side, and
Yeah, bro,
I
like,
think
I feel like
most people
there's
think Asuka could legitimately kick the shit out of Bill Goldberg, personally, that's how I
yeah, even
feel.
in his prime. I feel like, yeah, there are so many people who scoff whenever you even hear Bill Goldberg. I have never once heard anyone scoff when mentioning Asuka, but I read the text of what he was saying, and it's so funny because he pretends to not know her name, but it's just like, "Oh, some Japanese chick, Asuka." It's like, "You know her name, idiot.
Oh,
Like,
he
what are
he
you
even goes
doing?"
like Asuka or something like that, and you're like, "Shut the fuck up, dude."
Come on, you have a Google alert, you damn idiot.
So there's the Goldberg undefeated streak. Again, used to just be the most remarkable thing about Goldberg, now just marred with controversy because he had to open his fucking dumb mouth. The longest title reign in wrestling history is Bruno Sammartino, where he held the title for 2,803 days, which is roughly 7.5 years. So he held the title from May 17th, 1963 to January 18th, 1971. And so I guess, Sammy,
Yeah.
I was just curious, like, how do you feel about the concept of undefeated streaks in pro wrestling?
They start off impressive, right?
Mhm.
Because it's like, "Oh, this wrestler is so good. They train so hard and th despite all challengers, they fucking did it, and yes!" And I think maybe it's the secret of the sauce of a good winning streak is how many times you're defending it or even how long you hold the winning streak, because I think after a while the winning streak just becomes the norm and is like expected, and then we start to forget that this wrestler is still training as hard as they can to defeat every single person that challenges the title, and then all of a sudden it becomes more about who can beat the streak rather than who's holding it. So it's a kind of a there's a delicate balance of how long a streak should be and if it's gonna mean anything once it's over.
I agree. It does seem like there's a tipping point in undefeated streaks in wrestling where if it goes on too long, then all of a sudden you're getting to a place where it's gonna be disappointing no matter what happens, and
Mhm.
so I think it's very difficult, and again, I remember thinking to myself, "There's no way in hell that people loved Bruno Sammartino being the champion for 7.5 years,"
Yeah.
but I remember I was just thinking about it in terms of I don't think it was the same vibe as when WWE TV today. I guess what I'm trying to say is I don't think Bruno Sammartino had a run that was polarizing like Roman Reigns. I think he wasn't around as much and there wasn't as much exposure through TV and social media and stuff like that. So I
Mhm.
think getting a beloved wrestler like Bruno Sammartino to your town was probably a really big deal. So for him to, he comes back 2 years later and you're like, whoa, he's still the champion. This is crazy. You know what I mean? I think it was a lot easier to keep that mystique alive. And I recall, I mean, this is just the anecdote of when he finally lost the title. It was so silent you could hear a pin drop. So I don't think people were like you know, San Martino sucks. San
San
Martino
Martino
sucks. I don't think
sucks.
anybody's yeah, so again, I don't think he was getting booed out of the building, and I don't think people were like, "Yeah, man, San Martino's gotta drop the title." Like, I don't think the ancient dirt sheets were doing that. I think people were genuinely bummed. That's what I encountered when we were just sort of going through this Asuka undefeated streak, where I think it was
Mhm.
really cool, and I remember experiencing it live, and then the big feeling was, "How are they gonna land this?" And, well, I guess we'll just have to go through the streak to get there.
Oh, let's go through that streak, baby.
But, oh, I also think it's like in other episodes, we've referenced NXT a lot, so I just
Mhm.
wanted to make this the episode where we officially plant our flag and we talk about NXT a little bit in depth,
NXT.
so we can point to this episode if you ever wanna learn a little bit more about NXT. As we've mentioned in many previous episodes, NXT is WWE's developmental territories. It's one of the many ways that they scout and develop new talents that will eventually go on to what they call the main roster. So shows like Raw, shows like SmackDown, that's considered the main roster. And then NXT was a developmental slash feeder system. So in the past, WWE used places like Memphis Championship Wrestling, Ohio Valley Wrestling, which we've talked about, Deep South Wrestling, Florida Championship Wrestling, from 2008 to 2012, Florida Championship Wrestling was their go-to feeder system where they would send new talent, develop them, and then bring them up to Raw and SmackDown, the main roster. So NXT originally started as a reality TV show that was set in Florida Championship Wrestling. And so the premise of the reality show was the WWE was trying to find their next top WWE superstar. The show ran for 5 seasons, and some people who were on the NXT reality show who would go on to have wrestling careers are some people that you might honestly recognize, Sammy. So Daniel
Mm.
Bryan was in
Yep.
season 1 of NXT. Bray Wyatt, Titus O'Neil, they were in season 2. And then Naomi was in season 3.
Nice.
So all of these superstars are like a big deal now. And it's like, yeah, they came up through this reality show of NXT. And so in 2012, they stopped production on the NXT reality show, and then they
Mhm.
also closed down Florida Championship Wrestling and then rebranded both of those ideas as NXT. And it was sort of launched as its own promotion with its own roster of talent, its own story, and its own storyline, similar to Raw or SmackDown, but on a smaller, more developmental scale. Sort of like big league, minor leagues versus major leagues sort of feeling. I think Triple H described it as music. So he was just like, oh, yeah. So Raw and SmackDown, that's like the top 40 Billboard hits. Whereas
Mm.
NXT is more like cool indie bands. They could be a little riskier. They could try a little more out there stuff. And NXT very quickly got a reputation as being must watch WWE programming because of the frequency of how often they were signing new and exciting independent talent from the indies that we've talked about.
Mhm.
So people like Seth Rollins, Big E, Bailey, Finn Balor, Samoa Joe, they were all big on the indies. They got to come into NXT and just tear it up and do really incredible matches that you weren't necessarily getting a chance to see on the main roster at the time. So it was like NXT was scouting talent that people heard of, really liked, who were
Mhm.
all really good, interesting wrestlers doing cool, creative matches. NXT got the reputation of being honestly creatively better than the main roster because, again, this is in that same time period that we were talking about where people creatively were a little bit burnt out on the main roster of
Mhm.
WWE. And so NXT got to be where you got to scratch the itch of seeing independent talent. You're like, "Oh, well, WWE does that too with NXT," and it's completely separated from the creative team that's doing the main roster. So Triple H was in charge of creative.
Paul.
Yeah, Paul Levesque, Triple H was in charge of the creative in NXT at that time, and then, there was a different creative team for the main roster. People were pretty burnt out on that, so they were very excited about the, like, new, fresh, bold ideas that Triple H was getting to experiment around with down in NXT. So by the time Asuka debuts in 2015 in NXT is, like, on the middle of a hot streak. So people are already super excited, super bought in. There's a huge amount of trust. and then they bring in this new talent, Asuka. She then goes on to have like an incredible undefeated streak. So for the rest of the episode, we are going to talk about 914 days of Asuka.
I really wanted to cue up the music that plays underneath the 500 Days of Summer intro.
You can if you want.
Okay. This is a story of a winning streak. The wrestler, Kanako, aka Asuka, of Osaka, spent nearly a decade in the Indies, but never truly had a massive winning streak until she signed with NXT. NXT's belief in Asuka resulted in a streak overshadowing many others, including Goldberg. Asuka could be known for two things. The first, her striking ability. The second is her Asuka lock, a deadly submission move she administers gleefully. Asuka debuts on October 7th and on NXT TakeOver. After 5 minutes, her streak began. This is a story about a winning streak. You should know up front, this is not a love story.
That's right. We're going full 500 days of summer for this.
What's up?
Yeah, we could. What, we talk about wrestling in 500 days of summer? What is this podcast?
It's
That's right. We're
Wrestling
not like other
Academy.
podcasts.
We're not like other girls.
podcasts.
We're
Yeah,
sweet.
we're not like other podcasts. So day one of Asuka's undefeated streak starts at NXT TakeOver Respect, October 7th, 2015. So as you'll remember, at her contract signing, Emma and Dana Brooke thought it'd be a really great idea to interrupt and make fun of Asuka. And so William Regal, almost as punishment, was just like, oh yeah, Dana
Face
Brooke,
her.
you're going to be, yeah, you're going to be we found her first opponent. It's going to be you. And so
What a dumb idea. What a dummy
Yeah.
idea.
truly a dumb idea because Asuka whoops Dana Brooke's ass, dude. It's a 5-minute match.
Yeah.
And again, like I said, I think to me, in a very playful Greek god way, Asuka's just toying with Dana Brooke the entire match. And to Samee is a lot more vindictive and sinister. But to me, it just felt like it was,
It's
yeah, I'm going to beat the shit out of you because I'm Superman.
I
You
l-
never had a chance, but that's okay. You know what I mean? It doesn't seem like I'm going to hurt you. It feels more like, isn't this so funny that Dana Brooke thought she could beat me? Like,
I love that we can hear like how you see Asuka by how you think of her as just like this larger than life character, and it's just it's fun to hear it as you continue to describe her as a demigod. So Asuka wins this match using a submission, and this is before Asuka Lock has the name has like entered the zeitgeist. So they called it a crossface chicken wing body scissors combo as a submission move, which I think is quite silly.
a crossface chicken wing is a lot of people have used the crossface chicken wing as a submission move. So there is a rich and illustrious history of people using
Oh,
crossface chicken wings. Absolutely. The body scissors, that's her wrapping her legs around. So basically, Asuka's basically choking you and then has her legs wrapped around your stomach where she's also
like squeezing the
inhibiting the
life
amount
out
you're
of
able
you.
to breathe, which is also so funny where I'm like, yeah, she's so funny, she's so playful, but like, yeah, her submission is choking people the fuck out. So
Yeah, and she latches on so quick. So she's like 5'3". She's a short lady. What also I love to hear is that the crowd was chanting "Asuka's gonna kill you." Like it seemed like her reputation really carried over to NXT, and everybody just already knew that Asuka is gonna fucking kill you, dog.
yeah, absolutely. The crowd was instantly on Asuka's side.
Love it.
So that's how her streak begins. It's just this 5-minute dominant display where she just really breaks Dana Brooke down. And what's interesting about NXT at that time
Hmm.
is they do events sporadically. So they would only have 3 or 4 major events a year. And so they would be called takeovers.
Hmm.
So there would, on the main roster, there's a pay-per-view event every single month. But in NXT, these feuds would develop over a couple of months. So when we hop to day 70 of Asuka's undefeated streak, we are at the next major takeover event, which is Takeover London.
Hmm.
So the first one was in October. We're now in December. So it's been a couple of months. So day 70,
Mhm.
we are at NXT TakeOver London, which is December 6th, 2015, where the people who initially interrupted her signing were Dana Brooke and Emma.
Mhm.
So she takes care of Dana Brooke day 1, and then at the next takeover event, she sets her sights on Emma for day 70.
So, to give you a base of comparison, in 2013, NASA was paying people $18,000 to not leave their bed for 70 days straight.
How do I sign up for that?
I don't know, but people were sending me that article, like, in 2013, telling me that I really had to do it, which made me feel not great.
As a person who's incredibly lazy, I would love it. I'd be like, "Yeah, send me the." I'm getting a lot of article, I'm not getting a lot of ways to sign up, and if somebody could sign me up, that would be great too. I would love that.
So, well, some people were earning $18,000 to win this match. Asuka brings in the other signature Asuka stuff, which is kicking really hard. So she reverse roundhouse kicks Emma's head. Emma goes down like a sack of bricks, and Asuka takes the win.
Dude, Asuka's kicks are so it's one of those things where, yeah, anytime you hear a good kick in professional wrestling, it's mwah, and I think Asuka's kicks are some of the they just sound like they hurt so bad every
Yeah.
time she just jumps up and takes somebody's head off. It's so brutal to watch.
Yeah, that's a real ass kick.
Yeah, yeah.
There's no going around it. Like, these people are suffering her legs, and more power to them and more power to Asuka.
That's day 70. The next major achievement, right, where it's like she's been undefeated for 70 days. So it's
Mhm.
only a matter of time before she sets her sights on the NXT because everybody she fights, she beats.
Yeah.
So when you stay undefeated that long, eventually you're going to start moving in towards the title picture. So by the time we get to day 177,
Mhm.
we are at NXT Takeover Dallas. So we're now in April, where she is challenging for the NXT Women's Championship match. And so I guess just to give you like a basic comparison, right?
Mhm.
Where we're at day 177
Mhm.
of her undefeated streak. So if you're watching the movie 500 Days of Summer, at day 118
Mhm.
is when Joseph Gordon-Levitt, they're, like, driving home, and he looks over at Zoe Deschanel, and he's just like, "What are we doing? Like, we've been hanging out for so long, we gotta, like, define this relationship." And then they drive into the tunnel, and that's kinda the beginning of the end of their relationship, because
Oh.
the thing that Zoe said is she was like, "I'm happy for us to, like, have fun, but I'm not looking for a romantic relationship." And then he's like, "Yeah, that's totally cool." And then here we are at day 118, and all of a sudden, he talks to his sister at a soccer game,
Oh my
and all of a
god.
sudden he's needing to press her for answers. So, anyways, about 60 days after that happens, we are at NXT Takeover Dallas, where
Where Bailey asks Asuka, "Hey, what are we doing here?" And then Asuka responds by making her pass the fuck out.
so there is a classic moment from WrestleMania 13
Mhm.
where Bret Hart and Stone Cold Steve Austin are in a match, and then Bret Hart puts Stone Cold Steve Austin in the sharpshooter,
Mhm.
and he's got like blood running down his face, and you can tell that he wants to tap out, but instead of tapping out, Stone Cold Steve Austin just fully like passes out and succumbs. And so it cements Stone Cold as he's so tough
Yeah.
that he would pass out rather than give up. And so they do a very similar thing with Bailey. So Bailey has been on a legendary babyface run at this point in her career, is so beloved by everyone at NXT. And then you have Asuka coming in basically being like, "Yeah, the title, give me that. I want that." and so it's like you see Bailey just going for it. And I guess I wanted to ask
Yeah.
Sammy, what did it feel like to see Bailey in her NXT glory days back when she still had the side ponytail?
I mean, much like Kurt Angle's sport mode, where the singlet straps come down, we know that Kurt's about to fuck it up. Bailey tightens her side pony and she starts fucking things up, which I do love when we have a visual like adjustment from a wrestler that's like, "Hey, baby, buckle up." So it was really, really fun to see that.
Yeah, and I think I recall. I think it was Bailey in an interview said that it was Dusty Rhodes' idea to be
Oh,
like she always keeps her hair in the ponytail. So at the end of the match, you can see how like messy her hair has gotten. And so like, yeah, she always had like a side ponytail that by the end of the match, it would just be like fucking down to here and her hair would be all messed up. It was great.
I love that.
But yeah, and I think at this point Bailey had been so beloved at NXT, people were really feeling like she was about to move up to the main roster. So it made
Mm.
sense that Asuka is going to be the one to dethrone Bailey, so then Bailey can finally move up to the main roster, and that's exactly what happened.
Oh, right on. Also, Asuka gets a slap in here in this match that sounded like a full ass gunshot. And it wasn't just a chop, it was a slap in the damn face. And like the entire audience was like, oh,
Brutal.
ugh.
It was this is like a brutal title match, and yeah, here we are. We are 177 days. So we're about like what 5 months
Mhm.
into Asuka being undefeated that she picks up the women's championship.
Oh, just out here slapping the champion. All right.
We're gonna zoom ahead a little bit more, right? We're gonna jump ahead like another 100 days, right? So
Mhm.
we're day 245. NXT Takeover the End, June 8th, 2016. She fights Nia Jax.
Knowing Naya and knowing Asuka at this point, battle of the hip attacks, huh?
Yeah, and I guess this is something that I wanted to bring up to you, Sammy,
Oh
and
my.
just to get your thoughts on it. So, Asuka, one of the moves in her arsenal is they call it a hip attack,
Mhm.
but to my eyes, it really looks like Asuka's just attacking someone with her butt.
Absolutely.
But it always feels like commentary goes way out of their way to be like, "Whoa, another hip attack for yeah, just Asuka using her hips here," and they're like, "No, she's fully using her butt as a projectile and hitting
Yeah.
people." And I guess I'm just like, "What's the BFD, dude?" You know?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know where that came from. Like, obviously, WWE has never been a place of modesty, especially when it comes to women. So all of a sudden, they're shy with butt.
I know. I guess I'm just saying, like, oh, what is Rikishi doing a hip attack? You know what I mean? Come
Sure.
on,
That's, yeah, Rikishi is 80% ass.
Sammy. Okay, we're getting
Yes.
to off the. I'm sorry, I derailed us with hip attacks here. Okay, we are on day 245 of
Yes.
Asuka being undefeated. She kicks the hell out of Nia Jax
Sure
and
does.
keeps that streak a rolling. And then a mere 45 days later,
Hmm.
day 290, is the part in 500 Days of Summer where Joseph Gordon Levitt and Zoe Deschanel break up. While they're having this conversation, and it's like, and she's like, I always thought we were Sid and Nancy. And then, I mean, do you want to do it?
Zoe Deschanel is like, I feel like we're Sid and Nancy. I don't actually remember it all the way, but I do know that the story of Sid and Nancy is that Sid stabs the hell out of Nancy.
Right, and so Joseph Gordon-Levitt is like, What, you're saying that I'm Sid Vicious?" And she's like, "No, I'm Sid Vicious." And he's like,
So I'm Nancy.
"Yeah," and then they break up, dude, and so
Wow.
when Joseph Gordon-Levitt is getting his heart torn out, Asuka has been, undefeated that whole amount of time, 290 days, dude. Asuka doesn't give a fuck about what's going on with Joseph Gordon-Levitt,
If
dude.
Zoe Deschanel tried to break up with, no, you know what? Asuka would be the Summer in this. Asuka would be Zoe for sure.
Yeah, I mean, everybody's a little wimpy Joseph Gordon-Levitt thinking they got a shot at Summer, and turns out no one's ready for Summer. No one's ready for
The
Asuka.
Empress of Summer. Wow, we did it.
Pretty cool, pretty cool.
Pretty
So
awesome.
anyways, that's day 290. Day 318, Bailey gets a rematch. So
Mhm.
day 318, we're at NXT Takeover Brooklyn 2, August 20th, 2016.
Ooh.
Bailey gets an official rematch with Asuka for the NXT Women's title.
Mhm.
And how does that go for Bailey, Sammy?
Oh,
Does she end the streak at day 318?
she, really nearly passes out yet again at the hands of and legs of Asuka, but no, she does not break the streak. She gets kicked really, really hard in her face, and Asuka wins again. Alright, so now we're at day 409. It is the NXT TakeOver Toronto, where they grab Mickie James. She's not retired, but she hasn't had a match in 6 years, and they're like, "Okay, let's bring this legend in and put her against this upcoming legend or legend in the making. And so they duke it out. And it turns out that Mickie James probably shouldn't have been brought in after her 6-year break because Asuka submits Mickie with a crossface chicken wing, and she taps out really, really quickly. And I'm not saying this in a tone that's like, "This dummy tapped out so quickly," but I wouldn't. I absolutely would.
Yeah, so it's like they bring a legend out of the cold, and
Yeah,
it's becomes pretty abundantly clear that, maybe this legend should have stayed out in the cold
should
because
have kept on ice for sure.
and I also think, we're in the storyline saying that, but I do think, we pull back the curtain, right? And we talk about how women's wrestling wasn't always the greatest in WWE. So
Yeah,
I think it was probably really awesome for a really great wrestler like Mickie James to be able to get in the ring and have like a real hard hitting,
like
legit
modern
match
match. Yeah,
against somebody like Asuka. So I think women's wrestling history wise, really great match. But in the storyline, it's like, yo, Mickie James, stay retired, dog. Like
yeah.
you didn't, you don't have it. No one can defeat Asuka. She's out of control, and she's gonna kick you so hard in the face and back, and then she's gonna choke you out. And that's what she's all about,
That's what
dude.
she actually did, and people are now at day 409, they're wearing the Asuka masks now, so it's very clear that people are so fucking stoked on Asuka, and after she submits Mickie James, there's a moment at the end of the match where Mickie is like, she's a legend, right? We just said it, and she came back to have this match with a modern women's wrestler, and it's like, it's historical, and she puts her hand out, and I really, really thought that it was gonna be this really sweet moment. But oh no, no. Asuka takes the championship title and she just raises it up and smiles in Mickie James's face in the most disrespectful but like lighthearted and gleeful way possible. And I truly laughed for about 5 minutes.
It was, yeah, so brutal to just be like, wow, just had a heck of a legacy, put her there, champ. And she's like, yeah, I am the fucking champ.
Yeah,
Get
idiot.
the fuck
Fuck
out of
you.
my ring.
Well, that's also the thing is like we talked a little bit about Asuka's confidence, and I feel like in every single match that we've watched, she does take a moment to like kind of taunt her opponents, and she still does that now in 2024.
Seems very hard to rattle as an opponent, and
100%.
is very much down to showboat for the audience. So, anyways, that's day 409. We're gonna jump ahead to January 11th, 2017. Just a random day of
Huh,
SmackDown, but
interesting.
it is also day 462, meaning it is one day after Asuka has officially broken Goldberg's undefeated streak.
Yeah, hell yeah, Asuka, you did it.
Yeah, cool for Asuka. Whatever, fuck Goldberg. Who cares? So, anyways, she breaks the streak, and now we're gonna jump ahead like 100 days. So
Mhm.
we're now at day 542. NXT Takeover Orlando, and this is where Asuka fights. I think the big thing that's been happening, right? Because she defeats Bailey, and once she defeats Bailey in that rematch, I think Bailey's pretty much gone. And then the question becomes, Asuka's so dominant. Is there anybody who can challenge for her title? Is there any sort of credible opponent? And
Mhm.
so we are at day 542.
Mhm.
She has been champion for over a year. And so the first credible threat that's presented itself is a new wrestler named Ember Moon. And Ember Moon, I think a pretty she was I think she's one of the biggest missed opportunities in
Mhm.
WWE
Yeah, totally.
women's wrestling because she was right now she is currently wrestling under the name Athena in AEW and ROH, but in NXT 2017 she was named Ember Moon, and her whole vibe was werewolf esque.
Hell yeah,
So
hell yeah.
she had wolfish contacts and fangs and would always cut promos out by the light of the
I
moon and
love
stuff like
that.
that. I'm making it sound like she's goofy. She was an unbelievably cool wrestler
Yeah.
and had a really awesome kind of high flying arsenal. And so I
Mhm.
think that made her really good opponent for Asuka, who's a lot more strike and submission based, right? You got somebody who's sort of a high flyer, and the
Mhm.
two worked really well together and had just a series of incredible matches together. So we had Asuka versus Ember Moon. This is their first encounter at NXT TakeOver Orlando, April 1st. And I think Ember kind of takes it to Asuka in a way that
Yeah.
Asuka isn't used to, right? Like it does seem like she's been champion for so long that not that she's not taking it seriously. I think it's just she hasn't been challenged like this in so long.
Yeah.
So Ember Moon has this really great finisher
Mhm.
that everybody really loved, where it's called the Eclipse, where she would basically get up on the top rope,
Mhm.
then flip over her opponent, and then land in like a stone cold stunner. And so they
Sick.
booked that move
Sickening.
super strong. So if you got hit with it, it was game over for you. Ember Moon during the match is really taking it to Asuka, and it
Yeah.
gets to the point where she's setting up for the Eclipse, and Asuka sees it coming, and so she pushes the referee into the ropes. That like allows her to like get in position to like lock everything in to win the match.
So after Asuka pushes the referee into Ember, Ember falls. Then Asuka takes that opportunity to kick the contact lenses out of Ember's face. She doesn't, but for color. She kicks the contacts right out of Ember's face and pins her. And I think you can kind of tell how formidable an opponent Ember was because Asuka added an extra she paused fucking Ember's face during the pin, which like does seem that Asuka was like fucking stay down. Like she was frustrated by Ember
Yeah,
for
there's kind
sure.
of like a don't look at me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Look at me, don't look at me. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Asuka gets the win, but has to resort to some dubious tactics
Yeah,
here.
which we don't see much from Asuka at all.
Yeah, we don't see her needing to reach into the bag like that hardly ever. So, Ember Moon does not get another shot at the title until day 682, NXT TakeOver Brooklyn 3, August 19th, 2017, right?
Mhm.
So it has been 682 days since Asuka debuted. She has not lost. And when she walks into this match, the commentary makes a point to say that Asuka has been champion for so long that she has beaten the modern day women's championship record, right? She's been champion for 505 days, which has surpassed the legacy of a wrestler named Rockin' Robin,
Fuck Robin.
who was champion for 501 day back in the 80s. And I did a little bit of research into Rockin' Robin,
Mhm.
and I think she is
Jake
her
the S
half brother is
Jake
Jake
the
the Snake
Snake.
Roberts,
Yeah.
which I thought was really cool. And then Asuka walking into this has been champion for 505 days. So just to put that in context,
Mhm.
the entire events of the movie 500 Days of Summer has happened,
Uh-huh.
and then an entire work week has happened, and Asuka is still the champion. So she has been champion for the entire length of 500 Days of Summer plus 5 days
That is one failed relationship and a
and a 40-hour work week. You know what I mean? So she walks in, and it's up against Ember Moon
Mhm.
again. And Sammy, how did this second match feel to you?
Asuka now knows what Ember brings, and Ember is fighting for her life, and it's really, really cool. I think one thing that was interesting to me is that Asuka and Ember are pretty close in height, whereas everyone else that Asuka was wrestling has been like taller than her in general. But I think there is something to when wrestlers are the same size. For some reason, they just really have better chemistry, and I don't know if you if you locked into that at all.
I didn't attribute it to their height, but they definitely have really great wrestling chemistry together. These two matches are so cool
They're
and
really
so
cool.
good. And this match is one of those ones, right? Because it's getting to the point, right? Asuka's been champion for 500 days, and it's starting to build in people's mind. Is Ember Moon going to be the one
Mhm.
to dethrone Asuka and take the title off of her? And so this match has so many close calls.
Mhm.
And I think Ember Moon as a babyface does a really good job of making that you give it everything you got, and then the bad guy kicks out at 2, and then she makes that really disappointed face. You know what I'm talking about? Like, yeah. And so I was gonna ask you. I guess could I challenge you right now to hit me with your best babyface disappointed they didn't get a 3 count face?
Okay, yeah, count it out.
1, 2, 2.
Yeah, I think I would silently shake.
Let me try one. You give me the 2 count.
Okay. 1, 2. Oh! Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's probably what mine would look like.
That's good. That's pretty
Yeah,
good.
audio listeners, are you having fun? Are you enjoying this?
YouTube.com/Wrestling Academy Pod. 1,000 subscribers. I'll put Michael through a damn table.
Oh wait, but Sammy, okay, you go to put me through the table and you miss. That
Okay, yeah, yeah,
what do you do? Oh, you would cry.
yeah. Yeah, it would be that. It would be like, the scream guy.
We're probably gonna cut this, but I got one more I want to try.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, cool. So it's a near file. So it's like, all right,
1,
I'm going for the pin.
2.
Yeah, I guess I'd kick out on me too. I guess I'm just a piece of shit who just like can't pin anybody.
And then Asuka would kick the fuck out of your head.
choke
She
choke me
would
so hard my head pops off.
she would chicken wing your ass. We have to
Yeah.
keep that one in.
Okay. So we're joking around, but it's like, yeah, it's Asuka, Ember Moon, tons of close calls on this,
Mhm.
but in the end, Asuka, at the expense of her own collarbone for real, ends up getting the win on Ember Moon. So everybody walking into this really honestly thought that Ember Moon was going to win, but Asuka ends up carrying the title for 505 days.
Here's what's wild is I paid close attention to the last beats of this match. So Asuka is like struggling with a submission with Ember. Obviously, she's trying to get out of it. She like puts her whole weight on Asuka. She like torques everything, and it's really knowing that Asuka had a broken ass collarbone in these last few moments. Just really, oh man, it hurts. It really hurts, but also just shows like the show must fucking go on, man.
That's how I know I could never be a a boxer, because I was like, I get hit once and I'm like, I'm going home.
Like,
I don't want
bye.
to do this.
You tap out
Yeah.
right when you see your opponent. Like, no, no,
Yeah.
no.
No, I did. I actually quit. I actually don't want to do this. I've never wanted to do this. I don't know why. I was just working out to lose weight. Okay. Like, everybody leave me alone.
I didn't sign up for this.
Asuka retains, but is injured.
Mhm.
So on day 700 of her undefeated streak, we are now September 6th, 2017, right? She debuted October 2015.
Mhm.
Here we are, September 2017, right? So it's
Nearly 2
been
years.
nearly 2 years. And it is on this day
Mhm.
that Asuka officially relinquishes her title and is moving from NXT up to the main roster. So she retires from NXT
Mhm.
undefeated and surrenders her title. And I throw in day 700 because on this same exact day
Mhm.
is the day that Asuka breaks Christian Cage's
Ayy.
TNA undefeated streak, where he was undefeated for like 2 years. Yeah, Asuka beats it, moves on to the main roster. So we are now in the main roster portion where, as we said, Asuka's injured, so she's going to be gone for a little bit. But
Mhm.
in October, they start airing vignettes that Asuka is going to reappear
Ho,
on
ho,
the
ho,
main roster.
ho.
So we now have good old Kurt Angle has moved back into the WWE in a commissioner role. So he is now the commissioner of Monday Night Raw. And he says that he's going to have a fatal 5-way to determine who's going to be Asuka's very first opponent. And it's going to be between Bailey, Sasha, Emma, Dana Brooke, and Alicia Fox.
Mhm.
And so out of all of that, we get Emma
Okay.
wins the match to become Asuka's very first opponent at TLC. So Emma, Sammy, you
Yeah.
may remember, was the person that Asuka beat her second NXT takeover, right? So she
Uh-huh.
beats Dana Brooke, and then the next person she beats is Emma. So here we are, day 746. Asuka debuts at TLC and just beats the brakes off Emma again.
Emma needs to be put on ice.
At this point, Sammy,
Mhm.
we are at day 746 of Asuka's undefeated streak. She has now reappeared on the main roster. She's on Monday Night Raw.
Okay.
She is fighting at TLC. So, if you were to watch the movie 500 Days of Summer, this would approximately be the part in the movie where Joseph Gordon-Levitt gets his ass kicked at a cocktail bar and then presses Zoe Deschanel to like define they get in like a huge argument back at her apartment,
Mhm.
and he's pressing her to define the relationship to be like, you know, we're acting like a couple, but you keep saying that we're just friends. Like, is this how you treat your friends? Kissing in the copy room, holding hands in IKEA, shower sex? Come on,
Friends
friends
my
my balls.
balls.
Yeah, so this would be the second time that happened. So if you watch the movie, then watch the movie again. The second time Joseph Gordon-Levitt says "friends my balls" is when Asuka debuts at TLC.
And just as a reminder, TLC stands for tables, ladders, and chairs, but this match itself was not a tables, ladders, or chairs match.
No, it was just an Asuka beating the hell out of Emma match, and that's what happens here.
Beautiful.
Next major event that happens in this happens a month later at Survivor Series. So as we've mentioned before, right? Survivor Series, a team of 5 versus a team of 5. If you get pinned, you're eliminated. So it goes from 5 to 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. And whoever's last is called the sole survivor. And that's usually a pretty big honor of how far can you carry your team being the only person. So it could ostensibly become like a 5-on-1, and the sole survivor would have to beat 5 other opponents to win.
That's crazy.
And so Asuka is put on Team Raw. So it is Team Raw, which is Alicia Fox, Sasha Banks, Bailey, Asuka, and Nia
Huh.
Jax defeat Team SmackDown. So that's Becky Lynch, Naomi, Carmella, Natalia, and Tamina. And Asuka gets to the point where she becomes the sole survivor for her team. And then she goes on to defeat 3 of the 5 competitors herself. So all of Asuka's teammates get eliminated, and Asuka takes care of 3 people all by herself.
That's
So
crazy.
she continues her undefeated streak. We're at day 774 of Asuka being undefeated. She's so undefeated, she carries her team to a Survivor Series victory. Pretty cool.
I love that.
We're now getting into Royal Rumble territory, right? We're approaching January. So
Mhm.
day 817. That's January 1st, 2018, for those keeping track. Asuka defeats Alexa Bliss on a random episode of Monday Night Raw, and that just so happens to be the same day that Asuka breaks Jade Cargill's AEW undefeated streak, which was 816
That's
days.
so many days.
So many days.
Jesus.
As we said, we're in Royal Rumble territory. Day 844 of
Mhm.
Asuka's undefeated streak is the Royal Rumble. So we are now at January 28th, 2018. It is the first ever women's Royal Rumble. Asuka debuts at competitor number 25 and then makes it all the way to the very, very end and becomes the first ever women's Royal Rumble winner.
We love to see it. We love to see
Yeah.
it.
And so for people keeping track, what happens when you win the Royal Rumble
Mhm.
is you get to challenge either the Raw or SmackDown Women's Champion at WrestleMania. It takes Asuka a couple of months to fully make up her mind on
Mhm.
who she's going to challenge. Is she going to challenge? I mean, she's in Raw, it would make sense, right?
Mhm.
But SmackDown has Charlotte Flair, which is a person
Ooh.
Asuka has never fought before.
Oh my god.
And so it starts to become very alluring. Like, you know, she's on Raw, she's beating everybody on Raw. Does she continue and try to win the Raw Women's Championship? Or does she go after Charlotte, the SmackDown Women's Championship? It takes her a couple of months to make up her mind. So day 872 takes us to the Elimination Chamber. We're in February now, a month after the Royal Rumble. Asuka beats Nia Jax again. Old news. She's done that already, right? We get to day 886. So a month after that, a month after the Elimination Chamber, we're at a pay-per-view event called Fastlane. After Charlotte retains her championship, Asuka comes out to officially challenge Charlotte at WrestleMania. And now we go all the way to WrestleMania, April 8th, 2018. Asuka versus Charlotte for the SmackDown Women's Championship. It is billed as streak versus title. And in the promo, the build-up, they're both mentioning that, like, Charlotte, she's like, look, I'm saying I'm the best. And to be the best, I have to beat the best. And no one has been able to beat Asuka since she debuted in 2015. It is now 2018. No one's been able to do it. And I think Asuka's basically like, I need to prove that I'm the best. And she's, she has the pedigree of being one of the best women's wrestlers of our time, possibly ever. And so if I want to prove to people that I'm as good as I say I am, I gotta beat Charlotte Flair. I just gotta say, dude, when we get to the entrances of this match,
Oh.
Charlotte Flair's entrance is unbelievable,
It is
dude.
so cool. It is so cool. Like, the lighting is gold or yellow. She's got 2 beefcakes, which I think all fans of Wrestling Academy know that Michael and I would love beefcake entourages.
Yeah, but they're not just regular beefcakes. They're
No.
beefcakes in Roman centurion guard like Spartan
Yeah.
uniforms. And she's like guiding them both by the hand. And it's just like just these two hunks being like, yes, Miss Charlotte, whatever you say, Miss Charlotte. You know what I mean? And she's just, her outfit is gold. The lighting is gold. She's brought in on a throne. It is unreal.
It is crazy. I will urge everybody who is going to check out this WrestleMania. Charlotte walks a little funny.
It's okay. So visually looks great. From a walking standpoint, a little
A little
something to be desired is what
Yeah,
you're saying.
yeah, I don't know if it's like she's like shuffling around trying to find the beat or whatever, but like she walks really weird, especially after she's off of the throne and the music changes to like this like dubstep rock version of her entrance theme.
And it's one of those things, dude. I remember this period of time watching this live. Everybody was increasingly worried that Asuka was going to face Charlotte, and they were like, "Oh, well, if anybody's going to be able to beat the streak, it's probably going to be somebody like Charlotte Flair because Charlotte Flair wins all the time." And I think that makes people really resent Charlotte Flair,
Mhm.
but dude, I got to say, watching this match,
It rules.
Charlotte's a really good wrestler.
It
She's really
rules.
good.
She
She's really it.
she looks really cool while she's wrestling. But it's also, yeah,
And
she looks rad.
and I don't think she's treating Asuka like a chump or anything. Like, this is
Mm-mm.
a hard hitting, awesome match. It was one of those things where how I felt watching it, where a lot of times when I was watching matches during this undefeated streak, it really did feel like Asuka was just on a completely different level
Mhm.
than the people she was wrestling.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until I saw her in the ring fighting Charlotte that I was like, this is two credible threats, two credible wrestlers. I'm watching two people on the same level really duking it out. And that was really exciting because it had been, what, almost 3 years of this was the first time in a really long time, almost like 400 days at this point,
Yeah.
that I saw her in a match where I was like, yeah,
She's like working. She's
yeah,
working
she's
for it.
working she's working hard, and she's able to, like, go at a level that Charlotte Flair can go at because she's that good. And I remember at the time being frustrated, but that's what I like about doing Wrestling Academy is we get to kinda go back
Mhm.
without any of that bias really, and just sorta clinically look at what happened and then be like, "Cool, based on all the pieces laid out,
Yeah, this was cool.
I was enjoying the match. I thought it made sense to me going back and looking at it. But when I had the emotions watching it at the time, I was frustrated. But going back and checking it out, it all kind of made sense to me. And like we said, this was a super hard hitting match. Something I thought was really funny was when they're fighting at the very beginning of the match,
Mhm.
they referenced that it had been Charlotte's birthday a few days before
She's an
this.
Aries.
But they were just like, it was recently Charlotte's birthday. And she said for her birthday, she didn't want presents. She just wanted to beat Asuka.
No.
I know,
Oh,
and I was just kinda
man.
like
Whoever wrote that needs to
I know, I
grow
was
up.
just sorta like, she is a grown woman, like, she is that's What a weird thing, you know what I mean? What a weird detail to just
Yeah.
sprinkle in of just like,
Ta
"Mama,
Who said that?
Papa."
Rick?
Yeah, I don't know. It really didn't do Charlotte any favors,
No,
and
that's really nerdy.
if you just look at her in the match, she's fucking awesome.
She rules. There was one point where Charlotte's a very gymnastics based. She looks like a gymnast, right? She has a background in gymnastics, I think. But some of like her one of her signature moves is a moonsault. And Asuka somehow counters this moonsault. So Charlotte climbs up on the ropes and does the moonsault, and then all of a sudden, in half a blink of an eye, Charlotte's tangled up in Asuka's legs like a damn Venus flytrap, which I thought was just another sign of these 2 working their damnedest and at their highest level possible against each other.
Asuka just swoops in and almost like plucks Charlotte out of the air, and then
Right.
immediately they're on the ground. She's getting choked out. Unbelievable, yeah. And so it builds to this whole thing where you think like, oh shit, Asuka might be about to choke Charlotte Flair out, and then is like hurting her. She's been targeting like her arm the entire time.
Mhm.
Asuka, she's got the Asuka lock. That's her submission move. But Charlotte Flair has the figure eight lock where she puts you in a figure four and then does like a handstand bridge. But because
Crazy.
Asuka's been beating the crap out of her arm, she's like pushing so hard and is doing the handstand with one hand, which I think maybe some people would be like, oh, she has to prove that she's so tough. She can only beat Asuka one handed. But to me, it just seemed really cool and really like she's hanging on for dear life to get this like submission locked in and really doing it. And in the end, Asuka taps out.
Ugh.
It is day 914, the day Asuka's undefeated streak ends at WrestleMania. She is not able to beat Charlotte Flair. So how'd you feel? How did you feel when you saw Asuka finally lose, knowing that she had been undefeated for 914 days? Did it feel bad? Did it feel good? Did it feel weird?
I mean, it felt bad because I fell into that category of people that you were just talking about how, Charlotte beat Asuka on one arm in a crab in a figure eight. And I mean, because I have maybe a smoother brain than you do, obviously I'm like, fuck. Asuka was whooping ass for 914 days, and then they have her up against Charlotte Flair on the biggest day of wrestling in the year, and then her legacy is submitted by someone on one arm. Damn.
I could absolutely see that. And it is one of those things, right? Where I think a lot of times when I hear about undefeated streaks in wrestling, and then you sort of look into the behind the scenes, what was going on,
Mhm.
the number one thing I always hear people say is, okay, well, whoever beats the streak, it needs to help them out. And I'll be
Mhm.
completely honest with you, every single time an undefeated streak in wrestling has been broken, it's never been by somebody that it would help. So,
Yeah.
The Undertaker, when his undefeated streak ended, we don't need to talk about who it was to, but the wrestler who beat him was not an up and coming wrestler. He was
Mm.
honestly like a pretty established wrestler that everybody was pretty like, really? This guy beat it? Okay.
Like,
All
cool.
right. And then when you get to Goldberg's undefeated streak, right? The guy who beat him was Kevin Nash. So like one of the biggest stars in WCW just kind of willy-nilly beat Goldberg,
Like,
and it
thank
just
you.
seemed like it didn't really help him out. And so anytime I've ever heard about undefeated streaks, they're always like, look, we got to do it just right. It's got to help the person out, whoever beats them, because otherwise what did we do all this for? And
Right.
so for me it was just like Charlotte Flair was already a legend. She was already big league, you know what I mean? And so
Yeah.
this doesn't do anything for her. And so I have a little bit of a conspiracy theory.
Okay.
I think honestly that Asuka was supposed to lose to Ember Moon all the way back at like day 682, right? I think because Asuka got the collarbone injury,
Mhm.
she got moved up to the main roster. I think what was probably going to happen is she would have stayed on in NXT for one more cycle. And when we got to the next takeover, we were going to get Ember Moon versus Asuka 3,
Mhm.
where Ember Moon was going to be the one to finally end the streak. So it's probably going to end up being something like 700 days or something like that. But
Mm.
because she got injured, they moved her up to the main roster,
Right.
where, as we said, there's a different creative team in place. And so I think they were like, oh, what does she have? undefeated streak. We'll just do something with that. And
Sure.
then by the time we get there, they don't really know what to do, right? So they're like, "Oh, well, we love Charlotte Flair, so you know, it would make sense for somebody like Charlotte to take it over." So I honestly think that's what happened. I think they had to create a vision for her, and had Asuka not gotten legitimately injured,
Mhm.
it probably would have been a more satisfying conclusion to that storyline. But the feud between Ember Moon and Asuka never really materialized. So, her undefeated streak ends at WrestleMania 34, 914 days.
Yeah, and I think just to double down what you said, it does seem like whether or not Ember and Asuka 3 was going to be something booked, Charlotte Flair ending Asuka's streak does feel, like it kind of suggests that the streak went on a little bit too long.
Absolutely. And it felt like at a certain point they didn't know where to land the
Mhm.
plane. And I think as I get into the epilogue of the story, I think it becomes abundantly clear that I think undefeated streaks are a double-edged sword, right?
Mhm.
Because yeah, because 2 days later,
Mhm.
so we are now 2 days after WrestleMania 34. 2 days later, Carmella cashes in
Carmella.
her Money in the Bank briefcase on Charlotte Flair and becomes the SmackDown Women's Tag Team title. So, while it was kind of a huge bummer to watch Asuka lose her undefeated streak, I think I vastly prefer her losing in an actual match to a really good opponent
Sure.
than having Carmella be the one to end the streak with a sneaky little cash in. You know what I mean?
Sure. Totally.
And
Totally.
I think, as I said, I think it's a double-edged sword because once Asuka loses the streak,
Mhm.
I think she's kind of I'll be honest, like I don't think Asuka has ever fully recovered on the main roster from the undefeated streak, right? And it has been 7 years, but she has never been as dominant as when she first debuted. And I think that's
Hmm.
a little bit by design. And honestly, Asuka was kind of languishing for 9 months where she was just in a program with Carmella and she couldn't seem to beat Carmella in a big match. And it was just kind of annoying and frustrating. And then 9 months later, so she debuts on the main roster at TLC. So 9 months later at TLC again.
Mhm.
So we're at December 16th, 2018. It's the TLC event again. Asuka is finally able to capture the SmackDown Women's title.
Hmm.
So it takes her 9 months to recover, but I do feel like the damage it did to her reputation as a tough wrestler has never fully recovered from that initial decision to have Charlotte Flair beat her. Epilogue to the story, right? Charlotte Flair wins, but immediately gets cashed in on by Carmella. And then Asuka chases her for 9 months until she's finally able to capture the SmackDown Women's title. And then if you're watching 500 Days of Summer, Joseph Gordon-Levitt finally gets over the breakup. He pursues his dreams of becoming an architect, and he's in the lobby of a big architecture firm where he's having a job interview, and he has a chance encounter with a woman named Autumn who is interviewing for the same job. He decides to throw caution to the wind and ask her out. And at first she says no, but then she decides to throw caution to the wind as well, and she accepts the date. And then I think Zoe Deschanel would go on to marry one of the Property brothers in like 2019.
Yeah.
And that is the end of 914 days of Asuka. Sammy, how you feeling?
You're asking me this, and my thoughts are all just swirling around Carmella. And our introduction to Carmella happened in our Becky Lynch episode. I didn't love it. I still don't love it. And I feel like we're gonna have to do an episode, or I'm gonna have to do some independent study on Carmella and see what the deal was, because it seems like they were pushing her to something, but we don't hear about her now. But we hear about everyone
Y-
else that we've covered. So it's like,
Yeah, she's kind of always presented in these stories as somebody who doused a bunch of cold water on her favorites and
yeah. And it's like,
yeah.
okay, that would be totally fine if I knew what was happening or she did something cool, but it seems like she really did wet blanket, like, great events, like women's first Money in the Bank, right? Like, that's the suitcase that her man friend got, and then she cashed it in on Charlotte Flair 2 days after WrestleMania? What is that all about? Carmella.
Yeah, I know, just sort of making just sort of making Charlotte's, iconic she was able to dethrone Asuka, and then 2 days later loses to Carmella. So it does really feel like she's become a historic heel where her character was always positioned in opposition to progress, which
Right. She
that's a
feels like
bummer of a
a
legacy to get saddled with, you know?
she feels like one of those, like, Dastardly and Muttley cartoons, like, she's the villain with the mustache, and then her, like, dude security guy is the, like, dog.
Yeah.
Ah, man.
So, yeah, I think we should definitely do an episode on Carmella
Okay.
just so we can humanize her a little bit to be
Yeah,
like,
it's unfair how I'm feeling about it
she's
right
been
now.
saddled with some bummer stuff, but she's cool.
Yeah, she's cool. And here are some matches that I think that if you're curious about Asuka's streak in NXT and WWE, for sure check out NXT Takeover Orlando, the April 1st, 2017. That's Ember and Asuka for the first time. The NXT Takeover Brooklyn 3 is Ember and Asuka for the second time, and that is the August 19th, 2017 match. And then obviously check out WrestleMania 34 to really watch Charlotte walk really silly during her entrance.
The match is good too. It is a good match. It is a good match. The walk is silly, but the match is also
The
good.
match rules, yeah.
Yeah, and then Sammy, I
Mm.
guess I was struggling to come up with my final thoughts. And so I looked to the movie 500 Days of Summer, and I think it honestly kind of summed up how I'm feeling perfectly.
Oh, does it?
Most days of the year are unremarkable. They begin and end with no lasting memory made in between. Most days have no impact on the course of a life. WrestleMania 34, April 8th, 2018, was a Sunday. If Wrestling Academy has learned anything, it's that you can't ascribe great cosmic significance to a simple earthly event. Coincidence. That's all anything ever really is.
Okay, all
Nothing
right,
more than
Michael.
coincidence. Okay. Yeah, okay. I think my real thing is I think undefeated streaks are tricky things.
Mhm,
I think it's really cool when they're happening, but it is almost impossible to land this in a satisfying way. It almost feels like at a certain point, undefeated streaks are awesome.
mhm,
And then the more they keep going, the more it seems like it's going to damage whoever's holding it more. I think Asuka's undefeated streak in NXT was perfect. And
mhm,
then once she moved creative from, NXT to the main roster is when things got really dicey. And that's when WWE took kind of the safe way out. And
mhm,
yeah, so I feel like yeah, streaks are tricky things, and I think ultimately, I think they're more trouble than they're worth. So if you're ever
mm.
gonna do an undefeated streak, let Zoe Deschanel and Joseph Gordon-Levitt be your guide. Never go for more than like 500 days. Beyond 500 days, you're just asking for trouble. That's what I could.
Thank you for listening to Wrestling Academy, hosted, produced, and edited by Michael Classic and Sammy Junio. Follow us on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at Wrestling Academy Pod, or send us an email at wrestlingacademypod@gmail.com.
And you can follow, rate, and leave us a positive review wherever you get your podcasts. We would really appreciate it if you could give us like a 5-star review. It helps us grow. As we said, we're a young podcast, but we're hungry. We're trying to go places. So if you could give us a 5-star review or leave a positive review wherever you get your podcast, we would really appreciate it. And check us out on Spotify where we have Q&As and polls for every single episode. And please, if you have any information on Ween Kid, please go to our website, wrestlingacademy.university, to send an anonymous tip or call the Ween Kid tip line to leave us a voicemail at 708-669-4512. Ween Kid's out there. We're going to find him. And if you know Dog the Bounty Hunter, get us in
Or
touch.
Tommy
We
Lee
need his
Jones.
help. Or Tommy Lee Jones. We will move heaven and earth.
All right, everybody. Class is dismissed.